I get it, you're scrolling through endless laptop listings, seeing sleek pictures of a 14-inch OLED screen, a featherlight chassis, and a promise of desktop-level gaming in a notebook that barely tips the scale. Then you read the fine print and wonder, will that ultra-thin promise actually survive a few hours of modern titles, or am I just swapping one disappointment for another? I've been there, and I've also spent the last week putting the GEEKOM GeekBook X14 Pro through the sort of real-world grind most shoppers never see on a product page. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the most common buyer hesitation with ultra-thin gaming laptops is the classic trade-off. You get a gorgeous display and portable form factor, but you sacrifice sustained performance because the slim body can't house massive cooling. The GeekBook X14 Pro is built around Intel's Ultra 9 185H, a chip that's meant to deliver high single-core speeds for creative work while still handling multi-core loads. In practice, that means you can launch titles like Elden Ring or Valorant and hit playable frame rates at 1080p, but you'll need to dial down settings if you push the 2.8K OLED to its native resolution for long sessions. In my testing, the laptop sat comfortably at medium-high settings in most esports titles, delivering a buttery 6,070 frames per second window that felt smooth thanks to the OLED's low input lag. When I switched to a more demanding RPG at its native 2.8K, the frame count dropped into the high 30s, and the fans kicked in louder. Heat is where the design really shows its limits. The chassis is only 0.6 inches thick, and while GeekOM has packed a dual fan system with a copper heat pipe, the laptop does warm up quickly under load. After a 30-minute Cyberpunk 2077 session, the CPU temperature hovered around 92°C, and the fan noise rose to a noticeable whine that could drown out in-game audio if you're not using headphones. That's not a deal-breaker for a 14-inch machine, but it's something to expect if you plan to game on the couch without external cooling. For casual or short-burst gaming, think a quick Fortnite match or a few rounds of League of Legends. The thermal envelope feels acceptable. If you're after marathon sessions at high settings, you'll either need to accept the fan soundtrack or keep a cooling pad handy. Keyboard feel is another practical factor that often gets glossed over in marketing copy. The GeekBook X14 Pro uses a low-profile chiclet layout with perky RGB backlighting. The travel is about 1.2 millimeters, which feels more like a laptop meant for typing than a dedicated gaming board. In fast-paced shooters, the shallow travel didn't hinder my accuracy, but the lack of a distinct tactile bump means you have to be deliberate with key presses, something seasoned gamers who rely on mechanical switches might miss. The keys are still responsive enough for most titles, especially when you pair them with a decent mouse, but if a clicky, high-travel keyboard is a non-negotiable for you, this might be a compromise you're not willing to make. Battery life is where the GeekBook X14 Pro surprises even the skeptical. GeekOM rates it up to 16 hours, and while that figure assumes web browsing or video playback, the real-world test of a mixed-use day office work, a couple of 1080p gaming sessions, and some video streaming still gave me around 78 hours before the 65W GaN Fast Charger was needed. The OLED screen, despite being power-hungry, is managed well thanks to adaptive brightness and a low-power mode that the laptop switches to when you're on battery. The inclusion of a USB-C PD charger that can refill from 0 to 50% in roughly 30 minutes is a nice safety net for commuters who might need to squeeze in a quick gaming break between meetings. Port selection is another area where the GeekBook X14 Pro tries to punch above its weight. 2 USB 4 ports give you the bandwidth for an external GPU enclosure, a 4K monitor, or fast storage, while the built-in docking station, included in the box, adds a couple of HDMI and Ethernet ports without the need for a separate hub. That makes the machine more versatile for a small home office or a LAN party setup, as long as you're comfortable using the dock's cables. The fingerprint sensor is quick and works reliably with Windows Hello, saving you a few seconds in the morning rush. Now, let's talk price and value. The GeekBook X14 Pro sits in a niche where you could either splurge on a heavier 15-inch workstation-class laptop with better thermals, or drop down to a more conventional 14-inch gaming notebook that sacrifices the OLED panel. If you're someone who values a high-resolution, color-accurate screen for both gaming and creative work, photo editing, video timelines, design mockups, the OLED is a genuine advantage. Pair that with a lightweight chassis, and you have a laptop that can travel with you on a train, fit into a backpack, and still double as a decent gaming rig for less demanding titles. For those who primarily game at high settings on larger monitors, or who need a laptop that can stay under 85°C,